concept, execution, two different things. That's all I'm saying. The Gray Man is a brand new Netflix movie, and it's directed by Andrew and Anthony Russo, directors of Captain America, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Endgame, that Tom Holland movie called Cherry, which I never saw, and a few other things, but they're also known for their comedy as well, even before. They had producer roles on shows like Community, so it's always fun to see them going into their roots of action films, because I just think that's, in my opinion, that's what I love from the Russo brothers. That's the type of Russo brother filmography that I gravitate towards, is stuff like Captain America, Winter Soldier, and that really more grounded espionage stuff that they make. I think it's really fun and really enjoyable to watch most of the time. As for the Gray Man, I'll say, like I said at the intro of this, concept, execution, different things. I think this movie has a lot of promise, a lot of great concepts and ideas, and really fun ideas that you could really toss together with these characters and this cast that you have. However, I do think this movie does a disservice to the characters and the cast overall by having too many cooks in the kitchen, not from a production standpoint, but from like a plot standpoint in the actual movie. Alright, positives first. The Gray Man has a great cast. I love the cast of this movie. It's stacked. You have Chris Evans, Ryan Gosling, Ana de Armas. Love these people. Billy Bob Thornton. They're all fantastic in these roles. The acting is great. Everyone across the board is great in their roles. And I think they all do a great job of bouncing off each other when they interact, and when the movie does come together, and when all these characters are kind of coming to a head, and the movie itself is kind of coming to a head with its plot, it gets really intense, and I admit that I'm having a good time. I actually had a lot of fun, especially with the action sequences, too. Another positive, the action is really good. I really dig the fight sequences in this film when they're going down. There's a lot of great hand-to-hand combat. There's a lot of really cool, interesting locations that they go to, and there's even one great action sequence in particular that starts off a little small and then it just kind of expands and gets bigger and bigger, and at first I kind of thought it was dumb, but then at a point it got so insane that I just fell into it, and I was having a blast with that particular part of the movie. Those moments, however, are few and far between, and unfortunately that is really where my positives for this one kind of end is. I love the cast and I like the action sequences. As for the plot, man, it overstays its welcome. I don't know what it is, but this movie has a hard time at juggling its story. As to where I had a problem with Bullet Train for having a problem juggling its characters, this movie has a problem juggling its plot elements. There's so many things going on in this movie that just didn't need to be there. There's so much that you could trim off the script, to me at least, that could have benefited and given the movie a leaner pacing and something that could have not overstayed its welcome, but actually stuck with you afterwards, because there's so much that happens in this movie that a lot of it doesn't really stick with me. I just watched it and I'm already starting to forget some stuff, and I know my short-term memory can be bad, but I don't think it's my memory this time. Case in point, Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. They are the rivals in this movie. Chris Evans plays the villain, Ryan Gosling plays the hero. They're going to come to a head, they're going to come to a clash. I really get a sense that this movie wants to throw back to the 90s style, 80s style action films where there's a great rivalry between a lead and a villain, and it's not really related to any comic book material, it's not related to anything franchise building, it's just two badasses going head to head in a conflict. This movie really wants to throw back to that, but there's a lot of cogs in the machine thrown in that get in the way. Case in point, Ana de Armas. They kind of waste her in this movie. I love her. She's fantastic in every role I've seen her in. She's even good in this when she shows up, but you don't really feel like the script has a place for her. She just kind of is there at some points, dealing with stuff off to the side as she's slowly getting to the point of crossing over or like meeting up with our main lead, but you never really get a fluid, seamless transition to that. She's just kind of like, you're cutting over to here and then you're cutting over to her, and you don't really get why or what it's leading to. And by the end, when her role kind of fully comes around, at that point it just kind of feels pointless. It doesn't really feel like it leads to anything, and that's just, for me, like the movie could have done without her, and I feel like the plot wouldn't have been very much different. And I don't blame Ana de Armas. I think she's fantastic. She's a great actress. That's why I'm frustrated at the script for wasting her. Chris Evans, another example. The rivalry between Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans should be the main point of this movie, because at the end, the third act, it ends up with a really cool type of, without giving spoilers, it has a really cool like conflict at the end that could be really cool. It could be really like, oh, this is badass, I'm really into it. However, it feels like the movie spent so much time not even having Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans in a room together, so you don't really get that dynamic built up. They share a few conversations on the phone, but for me, that's not enough to build a rivalry. You need stakes. You need a back and forth. You see kind of little glimpses of that when he's like kind of talking shit to him on the phone in the beginning, but it kind of made me think of the movie Die Hard for a great example. That film has awesome banter between Hans Gruber and John McClane, and by the time they meet up, you feel really excited and you're really into it and you're really gripped because the characters have had this rivalry built for so long throughout the movie, and they've had their back and forth. So by the time you get to that third act, you're really into it. This movie kind of like has them share a phone conversation, and then he sends a bunch of goons after Ryan Gosling, and then Ryan Gosling has to fight them. That happens. Then he has to send more goons, and then he gets kind of pissed off. Then he sends more goons, and then finally they kind of meet up. But it's one of those things, like, it never really feels earned by the end because they had that rivalry built up, like I said, like 15 times already now in this video. I'm sorry, I am energetic today. I don't know, I really wanted to be more attached to this by the end, but I can't lie, I did have fun with the action sequences that it gave me. I think this film, that's really where its strengths lie, are the cast and the action sequences. However, unfortunately to me, the rest is kind of wasted in potential. There's just so much going on and not enough to get attached to by the end. You can tell there's so many characters and so many things that just don't really service the plot, but feel like kind of filler to fill time. Really what it boils down to is the movie felt like it had poor pacing to me. All in all, The Gray Man is alright. I think I'm very middle of the road on it. I didn't love it as much as I kind of really wanted to. There's fun moments in it. There's moments that I didn't like. There are things I didn't like about it. There are things I kind of liked about it. It was a mixed bag for me. Another Netflix action movie falls into the rest of the category of many generic Netflix action movies, and for me, unfortunately, the cast doesn't really save it. So yeah, what did you guys think of The Gray Man? This is kind of a quick review. I didn't have much to say about this one. I watched it, I got really frustrated with it, and then now I'm talking about it. So, hey man, watch it on Netflix if you want, or don't.